Turn it up, swashbucklers. You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 5. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm going to be your host for the show. Thank you for listening in. I appreciate it. Doing this a little bit differently this week because I am coming to you from my hotel room at a Comfort Inn in Pomona, California, while I am on the road performing. And I have not yet had to finish the production on one of these episodes in a hotel room, so I'm hoping I have everything with me that I actually need to do it. I think I do. I think I'm okay. But I've been on the road for a couple of days, and tonight is my last show of this run. I'll be at a place called the Chatterbox in Covina, California, which I think is a great name for a place that hosts a comedy show. So that'll be cool. I was in Fresno, California for the last 2 nights at Mother Mary's, and before that I was at a tiny little bed and breakfast in a tiny little town called Volcano, California. The Volcano show, very fun, sold out crowd. Sold out means this is a town of 100 people, and most of them were at the show. So great show. That was super fun. Fresno was interesting. We had some competition with back to school, and there was a giant Greek festival happening in town. And ironically, the Greek festival probably more profitable than the actual country of Greece, strangely. But so the crowds were a little light in Fresno, but we had fun anyway. It's interesting, though, because I don't mean to shatter anyone's assumptions, but we do a lot of the same material from show to show that we're working on. It's not all improvised off the top of our heads. And it's always interesting to see how a joke works from one show to the next, because you'll have jokes and bits that you go, this is surefire. This never fails. And then at some point, it will fail. And you have to figure out why. Or more often not, you just write it off and you go, well, that happened, you know. And I actually did Fresno was a little bit like that a few times. Fresno was fun. The people were very nice. Everybody seemed to have a good time. But it was a little bit harder shows than I'm used to as of late. But that kind of thing does happen. I actually put up a video on YouTube a while back. I was playing multiple shows at a casino in Primm, Nevada, and we had 2 shows in one night. And the first show, the audience was just like crazy good. They laughed at everything. They were super wonderful. And the second show was exactly as opposite from that as you can be. People were drunk coming in and falling asleep on the tables, and it was much, much more difficult. So what I did is I clipped together a video that took the same joke from both of those shows, and just to show the effect that the audience has on the comedy show. Just to show how important the audience is. And so I took that clip and I put it back to back, same joke, 2 different shows, 2 different audiences, so that you can, kind of see how the audience affects that. So I'll put that video up in the show notes for this episode so you can see it, because I think it's kind of interesting. So my guest on the show today, this is a momentous occasion today, because we have our first international guest on the show. His name is Mark Steeds, and he is the head of the Long John Silver Trust out of Bristol, England. And they are doing this cool thing because in the story, Long John Silver is from Bristol. And so they're trying to build they want to build a statue of Long John Silver and like a sort of like a hiking trail of places from Treasure Island and things like that. Plus, Blackbeard was also born in Bristol, so they've got a lot of pirate history there. So we had a great discussion about not only piratey stuff, but how do you get a town to celebrate something they're not entirely proud of? Bristol, not super proud of their pirate history, and so, but he thinks it's important to show the good and the bad of any city, and plus Treasure Island is an amazing story and all that kind of stuff. So we talk a little bit about his difficulties of getting the city of Bristol to go along with his plans, but it's a really fascinating conversation. I was excited. This is really one of the great parts of doing a show like this, because not only do I get to talk to people who I would never normally get a chance to talk to, or even sometimes have a reason to talk to, but I get to find out about things that I didn't even know existed. I had no idea that John was doing. I'd never heard of the Long John Silver Trust at all until I started researching people to talk to for this show. And so that's one of the really cool things about this. We've even had, we were already getting international listeners and things. I love the internet just for that reason. Lots of people from around the world listening to the show. Our last episode with Cindy Valor was the most listened to episode yet. So I appreciate you telling your friends and sharing it. Just we're getting a really nice response from it so far. So keep doing that. Keep listening. Keep telling your friends. In the next couple weeks, the show's going to be up on iTunes. I'm waiting until I get a couple more episodes up. And there's a reason for that. There's a strategy behind that. And we will be up on iTunes in the next couple weeks. But you can definitely subscribe on your Android right now and your regular podcatchers and things like that. So make sure you do that at underthecrossbones.com and just do the thing. It's going to be great. So today we got a great show. I, as always, have more shows coming up this week. This week starts my preparation period for the World Series of Comedy, which is coming up at the end of September. And so what I have to do is earn very little money this month, but spend the entire month traipsing around my home area doing set after set after set after set after set after set of the 8 minutes that I will be taking to the World Series of Comedy. So I will be woodshedding this material, this 8 minutes of gold, 8 minutes of comedy gold all over town, all over the Bay Area for most of September before I go to Las Vegas for the World Series. So this week, you can catch me doing that Wednesday, September 2nd at the Clayton Valley Bowl in Concord. It's a bowling alley, but it's a surprisingly good show. It strangely is. It's a really fun one. Thursday, September the 3rd, I will be at Moon's Pub in San Mateo, California. Friday, September the 4th, I will be at the Variety Theater in San Francisco. And Saturday, September 5th, I will be at the Shelton Theater in San Francisco. And I think possibly Sunday, I'm going to be at the Huddle in Fremont, California, Sunday, September the 6th. I think I forgot to write that one down on my little list here. So lots of shows to see me at tonight. Maybe you don't want to come to multiple shows because I'm going to be doing the same set at each one of them. But if you're in the area, definitely come out and see it. All my friends will be on the bill as well, and it's definitely worth coming out to see. So we're going to get into the conversation here with Mark Steeds. We had a really great talk. After that, of course, we are going to have some comedy and some music. You'll hear from some comedy from my good buddy Mike Baldwin, who's very, very funny. And then we're going to hear some music from my other pal, Tah Phrum Duh Bush. And I'll tell you more about those guys after the interview. So here we go, coming into our interview with Mark Steeds from the Long John Silver Trust in Bristol, England. Here you go. Tell me about the Long John Silver Trust. What are you guys doing?
Right. Well, we were formed 10 years ago in order to try and create a statue of Long John Silver in his hometown. So Long John Silver actually, according to Stevenson, came from Bristol. He ran the Spyglass Inn as a pub landlord, and then he went off on his tales of daring do. So that was what we were basically set up to do. And then to do that, we thought we'd raise money without affecting the public purse, so we became a registered charity. And to do that, they said we must be educational and inclusive, and so that meant we had to do a trail as well. So this is why we're going for 8 locations around Bristol, telling both the story of Treasure Island, but also they can hear you in the background. Can you hear them in the background?
A little bit. That's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's
fine. I'm putting this up now, am I? We became a registered charity, and they made us become, we were educationally inclusive before, but that was their parameter. In order to do that, they wanted us to have a trail as well as a statue, following on the lines of what they did in Oxfordshire, in Banbury, where they had ride a cock horse to Banbury Cross, and they had a fine lady on a white horse. So they told us to sort of follow that model, and that's what we've been trying to do.
That's great. That's great. And so where are you on getting the statue done, since that's where it started?
Well, one of our patrons is Nicholas Newton, one of the sons of the immortal Robert Newton, who played Long John Silver in the 1951 Disney classic of Treasure Island. And he's fully behind us, and we're trying to get the statue to emulate the great Robert Newton. Of course, Robert Newton was the man who gave everybody to talk like a pirate day and all the rest of it. So those are our plans, to replicate a statue after Bobby Newton. But our priority is really to do the trail, get the trail accepted, and then go from there. So if people like the idea of a Treasure Island trail, go on from there, really. Because the statue, the trail itself is going to cost £10,000, and a statue is 50,000, 60,000 if you want a decent one, if you know what I mean.
Sure. So that's really great. Let's go backwards a little bit. Tell me about where you come from and how you end up running a pub and getting into pirates.
Well, I come from Bristol, and the recognised book from Bristol is Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island, and it was my favourite book as a child, and I was absolutely thrilled that my hometown was in the book. So that's basically where my love of that came about. In later life, I was working abroad and realised that wherever I went on the continent of Europe, whatever town I was in, if they had a bona fide claim to a literary great, like the Pied Piper of Hamelin or the Little Mermaid in Copenhagen, then they had a statue over it. In my hometown, they had nothing. So that's really where it came about.
Okay, interesting. That's very cool. It's been actually ages since I've read Treasure Island, but I did see I saw the version with Eddie Izzard recently.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which that one I thought he actually did a really good job with the character as well.
Yeah. He couldn't master a Bristolian accent though, so I was a bit disappointed. But there we go. And also when Disney did a remake as Treasure Planet, they had the silver character as an Irishman. I was a bit disappointed then as well. we seem to be losing our roots here.
I guess so. So, I was looking at your website, and you actually right now you have a wicker Long John Silver that you've been touring around.
That's correct. Yeah, we did that back in 2008 actually, in order to commemorate the 125th anniversary of Treasure Island's publication as a book. And we've taken that all over the country, really. We've been to London with it. We've been to Edinburgh with it. All sorts. loads of scrapes we've been in. It's nearly been blown off our support vehicles and all sorts. But and it's never caught fire, so I'm particularly pleased with it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Don't ever bring it to Burning Man here in the U.S.
Oh no. They have the same. They have a Wicker Man fest up in Dumfries in Scotland as well. After the film, The Wicker Man, and. He always ends up going up in flames, of course. Yeah, yeah.
So on the trail, what kind of locations are you pinpointing from the story?
Oh, right. Well, to start it all, Stevenson used the treasure map. He was on holiday in Braemar in Scotland, and it poured down with rain for 2 weeks solid. And he's with his stepson Lloyd Osborne, and Lloyd had a paint box with him. And to amuse themselves, Stevenson created a treasure map, and from that the actual story started. But he freely admits he nicked the idea from Edgar Allan Poe from his book The Gold Bug, and Edgar Allan Poe actually nicked it from a Bristol writer called William Williams, who produced a book called The Journal of Llewellyn Penrose, a seaman, way back in 1815, and there's the world's first ever encrypted pirate treasure map in that book. And in that book came from an actual place in Bristol called the Merchant Venturers' Almshouses, where old sailors were sort of given accommodation to see out their days and everything. So that's where we want to start our trail, actually, right in this historic location that survived the Blitz, survived redevelopment, and all the rest of it.
Oh, that's great. That's great. What else would we see?
Well, we would take it down Bristol's most historic street, which is King Street. The almshouses are at one end, and then there's a very, very famous old Bristol pub called the Landogger Trow at the other end. And we'd have the Landogger Trow emulating the Admiral Benbow in Stevenson's story. So the blind pew bit and the black spot and all that sort of excitement would actually start at a pub very reminiscent of what the Admiral Benbow would have looked like in Stevenson's story.
Fantastic. That's very cool. And which is your pub? I know you're working in a pub. Is your pub near there?
No, 20 miles away in the countryside. No, couldn't be further from that. No, the Landogger is a half timbered sort of Tudor type classic, whereas our pub is in Cotswold stone, so it's a little bit different, really. And Stevenson started his story on the North Devon coast. And I think they're generally stone-clad, but it's a good double. It's certainly the right time frame anyway for the Landogger. Yeah, it's in a place called Welshback, which took its name from the trading vessels from the Bristol Channel, from Wales, from Cardiff, from the Wye Valley, up the River Wye from Landogo would come into Bristol with their goods to sell to a sort of bigger metropolitan area, if you like. And Landogo is corrupted into Landogger, and Trow is the name of the little ships they used to use. So that's where that pub gets its name, you know. So it's all emulating of Bristol's maritime past, really.
Oh, okay, I see. So myself being unfamiliar with Bristol because I have not been there. So it's a port city then, yes?
Oh, definitely. Oh, I beg your pardon. Yeah. The famous explorer John Cabot discovered Newfoundland from Bristol.
Okay.
And they say that Columbus came to Bristol to talk to Bristol fishermen who'd gone as far as Iceland in the great cod banks after cod, that being a big export from Bristol, salted cod or stockfish as they called it. So it really, in the way back in the 16th century, they've been trading all around the world really from Bristol. So it goes way back. Bristol's not just Brunel; it's all sorts of things really. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And so you have a few real life pirates that came out of there during the Golden Age, didn't you?
Yes, we did. Yeah, Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard. And he sort of runs throughout Stevenson's tale. His little ditty, 15 Men on a Dead Man's Chest. That's to do with an old Blackbeard legend. I don't know if you know it. Do you know that story?
I know a bit about it, but go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, well, apparently Teach or Blackbeard had 75 crews surplus to requirements, and he decided to set them adrift on a deserted island in the British Virgin Island chain. It actually called Dead Chest Island, with no provisions on the island. He gave each man a cutlass and a bottle of rum, and then when he went back after 30 days, he was surprised to find that 15 of them were still alive. So this is where you get your 15 men on a dead man's chest, yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum, drinking the devil had done for the rest. So, and Stevenson actually uses that throughout his book Treasure Island, and he also has Jim's nemesis, Israel Hands. He lifts him from an actual crew member of Blackbeard's day.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. That's great. Those are the stories that make all these pirate things fun. Yeah,
yeah, they come to life, yeah. I don't know if you're aware of Captain Johnson's General History of Ye Pirates.
Yeah, wonderful book, yeah.
Yes, 1724. So if you want a book that's contemporaneous to the Golden Age, that's where you go back to. And I know for a fact Stevenson actually went back and read that book and used it in his yarn, you know, his immortal tale. Yeah, so all that sort of thing we want to fold in the story of Treasure Island with actual parcels of Bristol's history in 8 locations. So you get your pieces of 8 again on that. That was one of the classic cries from Captain Flint's parrot, pieces of 8 and all the rest of it. So we emulate all of that and wrap it all up in our little tale, you know.
That's great. Now, when we originally talked via email a couple weeks ago, you had told me that the city of Bristol was not entirely hip to the idea of connecting themselves with Blackbeard and some of the other guys that have passed through there.
No, they're not very keen on piracy. I can't work it out. That's where half of them got their money from. Yeah. But we tried to get a little bit of representation in one of the museums, and the museum curator went over my dead body, and we tried to make a plaque trail to begin with plaques going around the city, but because they were on listed buildings, again we got this over my dead body sort of thing. So really we got some stiff resistance. But with this trail that we're going to do now, we're going to feature 54-gallon barrels of recycled wine barrels from Bordeaux, one of Bristol's twin cities, and we're going to plant them up with palm trees and everything. Make the trail have a bit of duality, so we're going to put cycle racks on it and hopefully make it a proper bit of street furniture rather than street clutter as we were dismissed with by in the previous days. So we're really hoping to go for it this time. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. It's interesting, though, that they kind of want to deny that part of their history, since I imagine it's a city that doesn't that embraces most of its other history.
It does, but that whole era, we're talking to our local tourist information place, we've got Brunel in the 19th century who did the SS Great Britain and the Great Western and stuff, and we've also got the Matthew in his discovery of Newfoundland in 1497. But that gap in between the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries is hardly covered, and one of the reasons for that is because of Bristol's involvement in the slave trade, the triangular trade. Bristol made a lot of money out of that, so I suppose there's a little bit of aversion to going into that sort of topic. But our belief is all history is relevant history, and you've got to tell it all, warts and all, which is a bit like the Long John Silver character. He's good and he's bad,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's interesting that they just want to go, oh, those 3 centuries? Yeah, nothing happened here.
Yeah, but they're not quite as bad as that. But it just makes you wonder a little bit what they're trying to do, really. Bristol was huge in tobacco and sugar, and of course they were the raw material supplied by the slaves.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's always sort of an interesting dichotomy with I find with the whole pirate culture anyway, is that there were good parts and there were bad parts, and essentially these guys were criminals, and I'm always fascinated to see how they pop up in popular culture as there's the transition to the swashbuckling hero. I always find very interesting.
Well, I always wonder why did they go that way? What happened? And I know for a fact that Bristol supplied thousands of men to the West Indies and to the Americas, people who'd just been on the losing side in the English Civil War, for instance. They shipped out loads of Irish and Scottish soldiers who just ended up on the losing side. Woof, they're off to the other side of the world. You had the Monmouth Rebellion, and the lucky ones, if you like, who survived the hangman's noose, managed to make it to the West Indies. So you had these armed men and men of resolve who could lend their hands to anything. And so what do they do if they didn't fight for a nation? They fought for themselves. You can't blame them either.
Right. So I found a lot of the people, the organizations and things that are dealing with pirates as a theme now are doing a lot of charity work and things like that. And I looked on your website, and you seem to be doing some of that as well.
Yeah. Well, this harking back to our charity commission status, really, inclusive, educational. I mean, the two of the lead characters in Treasure Island, Stevenson had Blind Pew, for instance, and he had Long John Silver himself, who'd had his leg removed at the hip. He didn't expunge them from society. They were a vital part of his book, and he kept them to the fore. And that's what we want to do. People who've got learning difficulties or wheelchair bound or whatever, we try to include them, and we're very successful. There's a local charity in Fish Ponds called PROPS. That acronym stands for Providing Opportunities and Support, and we do loads of things with them. We take them out on a Treasure Island cruise around the docks in Bristol, and we ooh-ah at everybody, and it's really very fun. I mean, there's one thing they get behind, is pirates with the eye patches or the colourful hats and all the rest of it. It's all a bit of fun, really. Yeah. and it's a break from their normal way of life, if you know what I mean. It's we used to read them Treasure Island, but I'm afraid it was a bit too advanced for them. So, so now we unsuspecting people, we just haroo them, or if we go under a bridge, we're quiet until we get under the bridge, and then we go to everybody and find the life out of. But it's good stuff, and the youngsters love it, absolutely love it. Because and the life when it's Robert Louis Stevenson Day, They did a load of artwork for us. And we had them making parrots and a big treasure map and all the rest of it. It's fantastic, and they loved it as well, because they can associate everything with what we're doing. So it is good fun.
That's fantastic. That's really great to hear. I like when it can be used that way. So, what kind of events do you have coming up in the fall? This will probably be going out in September-ish. So, what kind of events are you guys doing?
Oh, right.
Fall?
Well, we're hoping our trail of 8 planters will be ready in time for Talk Like a Pirate Day, which is of course September the 19th. Mm-hmm. And we've got a big place in the middle of town called the Arnolfini, so our art centre. So we're hoping to show Aardman's film The Pirates there, and it was all part of our launch. And then later in the year, we've got our colleagues from the continent and from Scotland. We've all got together because of the theme of Robert Louis Stevenson. We've all got together to become a European cultural route. So, of course, the Bristol Association is Treasure Island, but we've got friends in the Cevennes in France who did Stevenson's Travels with a Donkey, and then we've got other pals in Belgium who did his inland voyage, where he went in a canoe with his mate from Antwerp to Paris. And then we've got all the Scottish ones with Kidnapped and all the rest of it. And then in the middle of France as well, you've got the sort of bohemian set he used to mix with in Grèze and Barbizon, which is where, in fact, he met his American true love, Fanny Osborne. So we're all getting together, and they're coming to Bristol in November for our annual general meeting. And this accreditation from the Council of Europe as a European cultural route is being handed over to the powers that be in Bristol. So we're really chuffed about that. Yes. So, I say it's only certain people in Bristol who are sort of again it. In 2003, they did Treasure Island as a great reading adventure throughout Bristol and the surrounding area. And they were emulating what happened in Seattle, I think it was, where the first ever great reading adventure happened in the early noughties. And it was a great success, you know. So Treasure Island is in our blood, whether they like it or not, you know.
That's great. That's fantastic. Well, so we can everybody can find information about all the stuff you guys are doing at longjohnsilvertrust.co.uk, correct? That's your website?
That's it, .co.uk, yeah. That'd be lovely, yeah. And thanks ever so much for interviewing us, Phil. It's nice to get a bit of recognition, you know.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing. Is there anything I missed? Anything else you want to tell us about?
Well, in the new year, we're hoping to progress the trail one step further by making it a sensory trail, if you like. So each of the planters will have herbs associated with characters from Treasure Island, and we're also open to put a bit of braille on there for partially sighted people as well. And we've already got an app, and we're hoping to develop the app into audio as well to help partially sighted people. And the general public as well. So all the while we're trying to make it all come to life, you know.
That's great.
That's our plans, yeah. And ultimately, who knows, we might have our own version of the Little Mermaid, but towering over everyone, looking across to Blackbeard's place of birth. That's what we hope.
Right, yeah. That would be near there. Excellent. Very cool.
It would be, yes. Complete the circle, really. It would be good.
That's great. And do you have? Can people donate money to your trust on your website? Oh
yes, there is a donation button on the website. Yeah, any help would be gratefully received. Yeah, it's costing a lot. I mean, we want to do a quality job. We want everything we do to be of a certain standard, not only for ourselves but for the people to use. You know. The duality of making our planter trail a cycle rack as well will hopefully stop people tipping the barrels over and stuff like that. You know, things you've got to think of. Yeah, some of the locations we're in are still used on a Friday and Saturday night with some raucous drinkers and all the rest of it. So going right back to our maritime roots there. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's great, Mark. It's been really fun talking to you.
Well, thanks ever so much for being in touch with us and listening to our tale. Yeah. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, I think we're good right now.
We're good. Okay. Thanks ever so much then, Phil.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Take care, mate.
Bye-bye. And there it is, friends. That was Mark Steeds from the Long John Silver Trust out of Bristol, England. Super great guy. Very fun conversation. I really enjoyed talking to him. Make sure that you go see what they are doing with this very cool organization, and shoot them some money if you want to see it happen, man. Their website is longjohnsilvertrust.co.uk. They got one of them funny UK domains, co.uk. So longjohnsilvertrust.co.uk. That'll be in the show notes as well. And that was a great conversation. I have more international guests coming up in the future of the show. So make sure that you keep listening in, keep sharing with your friends. We appreciate it. Keeps the pirate ship afloat. Coming up, we gotta get you some comedy, gotta get you some music, gotta smooth your way back into regular life. So first up, you're gonna hear some comedy from my friend Mike Baldwin, who's very funny. I first met Mike, I think we were doing a casino gig somewhere in the Midwest. I don't remember exactly where it was, but Mike was just one of those guys who immediately we just clicked as like I could hang out with this guy, right? Which isn't always the case, but Mike is a super cool dude, very funny, got kind of a quirky style about him. You're going to love his stuff. After that, you were going to hear a song called Enchante from a hip-hop artist called Tah Phrum Duh Bush. And Tah is a very good friend of mine. I have known Tah for probably 15 years. Very, very talented guy, and he's out of Brooklyn, New York. That's why he is Tah Phrum Duh Bush, because he is from Flatbush. Very funny. Tah and I actually collaborated on a song a while back, one of my songs called If I Were a Girl, and I had Tah do a guest verse on that one. So the song is very funny. The video is one of the stranger ones I've done. And I'll put that video in the show notes. So make sure you go to the show notes so you can see the things that Tah and I have done together as well. So here's the clips. Coming up first, Mike Baldwin with some comedy, and then Tah Phrum Duh Bush with the song Enchante. Enjoy.
This is my invention. Check this out. They should take mustard and ketchup and put it into the same bottle together and then call it Must Up. And then it gets way funnier, so hold on. And then have a commercial on TV where there's a guy and he's sitting there and he's squirting something onto his burger. And then his friend walks in and goes, "Whoa, dude, that's must up." Then he would hold up the bottle and go, "Yup." You get it though, right? It's like 1,000 times funnier if you were to, like, get it. Put relish in it. Dude, that's really messed up.
So much discomfort plagues the human race. We'd rather look at the floor than in one another's face. Personal space varies from country to country, but one thing is guaranteed: people stay acting crunchy like they drawers all bunchy. Rather be punchy than crack a smile, sit down and eat family style. Beguiled, misguided, misogynistic misalignment got me feeling lonely like this is solitary confinement. Wondering where the kind went, not the kind like tight, but the kind is really kind like I hope you feel alright. If the feeling's right, extend a hand, offer an introduction. If the other person rejects you, who really gives a no time for wasting no negative energy. I'm all about synergy and expanding the inner me and combining that with the energy of a friend in me. We positively multiply and nullify the enemy. She got a shape you like and she beam and smile your way. Man, slide over and say, "Hey, Enchante." You like that fly guy, but he's shy at that dance party. Girl, strut over and say, "Hey, Enchante." Yes, miss, you're really pretty, but it ain't about a lay. I'm wishing you a great day. Hey, Enchante. Black, white, blue, gray, trans, bi, straight, gay, makes no difference to me. Hey, Enchante. And people be so uptight when they relax. Enchanted to meet you and greet you on your life's mission. Not a politician fishing and wishing for votes addition. No ass kissing, just hand switching, and maybe you're in to listen. Little human interaction, infused instead of division. My vision of anti-human vision could cause a rift in indecision. So why they can make a black hole glisten? No job and no quizzing, no faking, no pocket digging. Just making this a more tolerable place that we can live in. Giving you the recipe through verbal and telepathy. It's all in the name of love. My people, when you step with me, correct me if I'm wrong, but together we stand strong. We've been singing the wrong song for too damn long. So let's make it right and not fight. Create some love tonight. And if you ain't feeling the love like dynamite, then you should fly a kite. Weaker than the friends for life, but you will never know unless we meet each other first. So let's set it, here we go. Outside and speak to somebody you never met today. Extend your hand and say, "Hey, Enchante." See another person look at you, don't turn the other way. Push the fear away and say, "Hey, Enchante." We should learn from 3-year-olds, no social bias when they play. They should teach us how to say, "Hey, Enchante." Don't really care where you're from or to which God that you pray. I'm pleased to meet you anyway. Hey, Enchante.
And there you go. That was comedy from Mike Baldwin and the song Enchante from Tah Phrum Duh Bush. You can find links to both those guys on the show notes at underthecrossbones.com. I'll also have a link to Mark Steeds and the Long John Silver Foundation. Long John Silver Trust there as well, and to some of my things as well at philjohnsоncomedy.com. Come on by. Lots of good stuff on the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next week.